Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to B'nai Israel, and I am so pleased to be on. Well, it's on. Hello. Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm so pleased to be joined today on the Bima by Dan Goodman, Lisa Siegel, Barbara Phillips, and Keith Roberts. Roberts, right? Sometimes I say Richard. And so it's been a thrill putting this music together. And we hope that whenever you know the music, you join with us. It's only going to be more beautiful. So please join with us. And we're going to start with Sadi Katamar, which is on page, you'll find on page 128. Sadi Katamar Yira Keres Bevadan Bevadan Yiske Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and again, welcome. We turn to page 120 for Hadlakat Hanorot, Kindling the Lights of Shabbat. Jane Mahler leads us this evening in candlelighting, page 120.
Please join with me.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you, Jane. We turn to page 138 for Lachadodi, page 138. We will be chanting Lachadodi in the first, the second, and then on page 139, the 9th verse of L'Chadoti.
L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, Hishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'letfilah. L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki hi mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tefilah. L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Tovi v'shalom ateret b'ala, Gam v'simcha u'tzola, Toch emunei am segula. Bo'i chala, L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. L'Chadoti likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela.
We now turn to page 144 as we all join together in the Chatzi Kaddish, page 144.
Yitkada v'yitkada Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Divrach Yute v'yamli malchute. I'm sorry. I'm starting again. Yitkada v'yitkada Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach Yute v'yamli malchute.
Becha yechon uvyom echon, Uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kari.
V'meru
Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mivorach, Le'olam u'me'amaya, Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal Shmei Dekudashah Leila min kol berchata v'shirata Tushbecha
ata v'lechem ata, damiran b'alma, v'meru. Amen.
Page 146, we rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai, Amevorach.
Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach, Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai, Amevorach, Leolam Vaed.
We read together on page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Amari v'ravim. Page 151, we read the second reading on the page together in English. Wisdom and wonder,
passion and instruction,
story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. Please be seated. The Ve'ahavta, page 154.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu advarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'am b'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'leftecha b'derech u'shokbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yodecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mizuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elokechem. Ani Adonai Elokechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elokechem.
met. We turn to page 157 and we read responsively the second reading on the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Page 158.
Yam bam bam bim bim bam, yabba bam bam bim bam, yam bam bam bim bim bam, yabba bam bam bim bam, die 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 die, yabba bam bam bim bam, die 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 die, yabba bam bam bim bam. Mihi kamocha vaylim Adonai, mihi kamocha nedar bakodesh, no rati lo no sefele, no rati lo no sefele, ya bam bam bim bim bam, ya bam bam bim bam, ya bam bam bim bim bam, ya bam bam bim bam, ya dai 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 dai, ya bam bam bim bam, ya dai 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 dai, ya bam bam bim bam. Ma'alechutecha ra'u banecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe, zeli zeli anu ve'ameru, Adonai lo le'olam ba'eh, ya bam bam bim bim bam, ya bam bam bim bam, ya bam bam bim bim bam, ya bam bam bim bam, ya dai 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 dai, ya bam bam bim bam, ya dai 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 dai, ya bam bam bim bam.
Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Hashkivenu will be found on page 160. On page 162 is our prayer for Shabbat, Vishamru.
Shamiru b'nei Yisrael et HaMashavah, Lasot Tares, Uvayom Hashvi, Shabbat Na'inachash, Uvayom Hashvi, Shabbat Na'inachash.
The next section of our worship, the Tefillah, begins page 164. For those who are able, we ask you please to rise. We will be chanting the prayers beginning on page 164 and continuing on the right-hand pages, on the even-numbered pages, to page 170. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Tehillatcha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zvacher Chasdei Avot Ve'imachot, U'mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'achava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeach U'atarav L'choshia, Mechalkel Chaim B'chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'rachamim Rabim, Sohomech Noflim V'rofeh Cholim, U'matir Asurim, U'mekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, U'midam Melach, Melech Me'it U'mechayeh, U'matzmiat Yeshua, Le'elan Natal L'chayot L'hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh Ha'ol. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. We turn to page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Bochat Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. A tough week, a tough day. On this Shabbat, we continue to pray for peace and wholeness. Let us use these moments to sing and to reflect on how to bring shalom into our lives and nurture it throughout the world. Our prayer, Shalom Rav, for abundant peace page 178. Silent prayer, page 180.
Shalom.
Thank you, Emily and Matt. Each Shabbat, we pray on behalf of dear ones within and beyond our congregational family. I invite you to raise your hand, and after I silently acknowledge you, speak the names of persons for whom we should pray this Shabbat. Page 371. Six years later, also on a Friday, and we're still processing the trauma and devastating toll of the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary School. That's why this evening's observance of the victim's yahrzeit is so important. That's why on this anniversary night, we stand as a community, 26 souls beckoning us to sacred reflection. They deserve our remembrance. Even with all the projects and organization, the testimony and lobbying, the myriad of actions, large and small. From the vantage of 6 years, we acknowledge that there's been no quick fix. The Center for Disease Control, which tracks the statistics, reported that deaths from guns in this country last year were at the highest levels in decades. And each subsequent mass shooting, such as the October attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, compounds the pain. Each not only reminds us of our vulnerabilities, but reopens old wounds. We know how, for many treasured members within our congregational family, particularly those who were close to the events of 12-14-12, grapple at times with immense sadness and the ongoing aftermath of trauma. I listened to the recording of the expertly facilitated discussion that took place in this sanctuary the following Shabbat after Pittsburgh. The events of Sandy Hook Elementary School on 12-14-12 were in many people's consciousness. Amongst my takeaways was this: however numbed we may at times appear, we are not desensitized. We have our own specific context for understanding circumstances, and thus our own specific need to commemorate tonight's yahrzeit. To quote one of our fellow congregants, grief remains a spiral staircase. The name of our Torah portion this week, Vayigash, means to approach. As we approach today's anniversary, I ask us tonight to think beyond policy. Don't get me wrong. As many here know, to my core, I believe discussion of public policy is deepened by the participation of voices from our faith communities. The Bible's injunction to choose life for ourselves and our children impels our advocacy. For half a century, our own reform movement, along with the organized Jewish community, have urged stricter gun regulation. We are joined in this effort by sober authorities. This week, the American Medical Association warned that injury and death from firearms is a major public health crisis. Yet a worship service is not the time to address all the complexities and lurking unintended consequences of potential legislative remedies. Instead, careful study, thoughtful discussion, and the moral guidance of our tradition must be part of an ongoing commitment to our community and to our generations. B'nai Israel accepts this responsibility. Nor will my comments resolve deep theological query. Judaism offers no easy, comforting answers to the tragedies we witness or experience. Our rabbis have long taught it is beyond our power to understand why the wicked are at ease or why the righteous suffer. End quote. Assuredly, the victims of 12-14-12 were righteous. They were sweet, innocent children, and they were adults in helping professions, promoting education. We can't explain the cruelty of fate, yet we mustn't allow our limitations to paralyze us, or let cynicism or despair defeat us. Rather, we seek to choose life. We seek to live with hope. We seek both measures of joy and consolation. We reach towards a God who is with us as we endeavor to bind up wounds and avow blessing. And ultimately, we mustn't let the bad guys win. With this, with finding and moving forward, the Jewish people have extensive experience. From Egypt through the Holocaust, throughout history, we've known ongoing, unfathomable suffering. Even now, we look with alarm at rising hatred, at a backtracking of progress. Yet whose faith is equal to this people's Israel's? Whose will to live? As a light to a nation and Or L'Goyim, we carry forward our message that if there is goodness at the heart of life, then its power, like the power of evil, is real. And we counsel ourselves, we counsel the nations, that if we choose rightly, and often enough, then the broken fragments of our world will be restored to wholeness. That's the meaning of the Kaddish prayer for thoughtful survivors. For the battle against cruelty must continue to be waged. Earlier today, on this very yahrzeit, a cynical, mean, demented, and callous hoax was deliberately perpetrated against Sandy Hook Elementary School and Newtown, a threat that forced an early dismissal. Given the context and the malicious revisionism of conspiracists, this outrage is reminiscent of both neo-Nazism and Holocaust denial. And like both, it won't define the ultimate lesson of today. For the Jew ultimately responds with the words Yitgadal v'Yitkadash, that God is exalted and sanctified. We tell ourselves, and we tell God, that even amidst pain and unfairness, that especially amidst pain and unfairness, the sacred must not end, and the quest for goodness and love, for joy and integrity will not be abandoned. That's why over 5 years ago, in anticipation of the first yahrzeit for the 26 victims, Linda approached the large assignment of creating a Kaddish for Sandy Hook by drawing from personal experiences and by encountering sacred Jewish text. In so doing, Linda found and shared our tradition's inner voice. I've asked her to do so again tonight. For music reaches us at a different place. Momentarily, as active listeners, we'll hear a brief segment of her composition. Then, later in the service, not long after we've all recited the full Mourner's Kaddish, we'll return to Linda's meta-message. We'll again hear the voices of our future from our congregation's children. They will underscore the hope that continues to sustain Judaism and the Jewish people, that there can be progress, that one day, B'Yom Hahu, the violence and menace can cease. In the interim, Vayigash, let us approach remembrance and the passage of time with reflection and resolve. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will. we turn to page 586. We rise for the Elena. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lated gedula liotzer v'eshib, shelo asanu pagaye haratzot, velo samanu gamishvechot adama, shelo samchel kenu kahem, vegor aleinu kevol hamona, v'anachnu korim umishtachvim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamachim hakadosh baruch hu. Please be seated, page 591.
Sometimes I lay under the moon. I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon. I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know one day it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for,
I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play one day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day. Oh, v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech kol ha'aretz. One day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day. Oh, all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars, and our children will play one day, one day, one day. Oh, one day, one day, one day. Oh. Page 598. I ask that those in mourning or remembering the death of a loved one and who have trekked to the sanctuary during Shiva or Shloshim or for Yartzeit, should you be able, please rise when their name is mentioned. During Shiva, we remember Rosalie Koster. This Shabbat, we remember the Yartzeits, the anniversaries of the deaths of Edith Diamond, Abraham S. Frost, Joseph Gaber, Lillian Garber, Max Goodsmith, Samuel H. Greenberg, Celia Greenblatt, Helen Krakow, George Levine, Kurt Levy, Joseph Matskin, Bessie Mizell, Bernard Polin, Philip Rierson, Ferdinand Shatsky, Milton B. Scheibel, Irving A. Shimans, Richard G. Trarig, Linda Weseletsky, Charles Weinstein, Hyman Zeidler. In this Shabbat, we include the names of those 26 souls who were murdered in the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary School. Charlotte Bacon, Daniel Barden, Rachel Davino, Olivia Engel, Josephine Gay, Anna M. Marquez Green, Dylan Hockley, Dawn Hochsprung, Madeline F. Shue, Catherine V. Hubbard, Chase Kowalski, Jesse Lewis, James Mattioli, Grace McDonald, Anne Marie Murphy, Emily Parker, Jack Pinto, Noah Posner, Carolyn Previti, Jessica Ricos, Avielle Richmond, Lauren Rousseau, Mary Sherlach, Victoria Soto, Benjamin Wheeler, Allison N. Wyatt. If there are additional names to mention for Kaddish this Shabbat, please feel free to rise and say their names now. A practice within our congregation is to further consider these people. If you're comfortable so doing, we now invite you to share with this minyan a brief reflection or reference about a dear one on our Kaddish list. Each Shabbat, we likewise mention 6 names amongst the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust, the Shoah. We mention by name this week Leopold Lang, Ziama Kalvinovich, Rose Feldberg, Ichka Chakas, Nesha Chakas, and Yosef Dvorkin. In remembrance and solidarity, and on behalf of those for whom there was no one but us to say Kaddish, we now invite all present to rise if you are able. Our Kaddish prayer, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach harute v'amlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shemei rabba mavarach le'olam al'almei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit ale v'yit halal shmei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam levracha. May their memories be for blessing, and let us say, amen. Please be seated. This is the
part of creating the peace.
This is the bottom of page 598.
Oh, say shalom, bimrama, huya, say shalom,
Lisa?
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi and Linda and all our wonderful singers on the bima, and Emmy and Matt for helping to make this a very special evening.
I guess one for Lisa.
Are there any birthdays or anniversaries that people would like to share? Morgan? Happy birthday, Eric. Wonderful. Anyone else? Birthday, anniversary? Emily turned 16 last weekend. And I think she's pretty sweet. Good news. Who has good, where is she?
She's giving out wine.
Okay.
She told me to tell you.
Okay.
As of Tuesday, she's cancer-free.
Make sure you congratulate Joyce. How wonderful. How beautiful. On Saturday, December, Mazel Tov, Joyce. We are so happy for you.
Lisa, MJ.
Oh, I'm sorry, MJ. Wow, how wonderful.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Anyone else before I go on? Love the good news. You guys have to start saving it up during the week and say, oh yeah, I could save this to share on Shabbat. Saturday, December 15th at 10 a.m. we will have Torah study. Sunday, December 16th at 9:30 we have religious school. And also at 9:30, Rabbi Eric will be leading the Introduction to Judaism class. On Tuesday, December 18th at 11 a.m. is Rabbi's discussion group and religious school at 4:15. Friday, December 21st at 7:30 p.m. are Erev Shabbat services. Our upcoming events are as follows. January 16th, Sisterhood will be holding its next book group discussion. The discussion will focus on The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin, which will be moderated by our own Sherry Kipperman. If you shop at any Laban's, please hold on to your receipts and bring them into our office. Laban's will give our congregation a percentage of all receipts collected. Tonight's Oneg is sponsored by Rudy Zeidler in remembrance of our wonderful Lois. Shabbat Shalom.
On page 123 is Kiddush. That's just right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemahaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techilah l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. Well, surprisingly not bitter tonight. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'hamotzi lechem God's presence be with you and give you peace. Shabbat Shalom.